Hello gamers, arcade enthusiasts, friends, and fellow curious people. This video is a brief in-depth look at the Sonic Championship Arcade for the US. The reason for me actually doing this video is because I felt that there's a few other videos floating around of this cabinet, but they never went into detail about it nor history. So I thought I'd share some of the research I found so you're not digging around the internets yourself. You can come right here and find it. The arcade itself was designed with the Sega Model 2B CRX hardware inside. We'll take a look at that later on in the video and what that looks like. It was released in 1996 here in the US. I'm not sure on the release date in Japan. Over there it was known as Sonic the Fighters, which is also the same name on the Sonic Gems collection for the GameCube, which is the only other way of actually playing this game outside of the arcades. The original owner's manual has printed August of 1996, so I'm sure it was released here publicly a few months later than that. The game itself started off as a joke with a couple of guys from the AM2 division who created the Virtual Fighter series. They took that game, threw in Sonic, had some fun with it, and showed it to Yuji Naka, who liked the idea and gave him the A-OK to start actually publishing the game. Only about 556 models were actually released here in the US. Only a handful of them actually remain today. I know a few in Wisconsin, a couple in Florida. There's one in Las Vegas at GameWorks. And there's rumors that Steven Spielberg himself actually has one in his collection. The owner's manual actually, the previous owner didn't have it originally, and I kind of needed it for some of the repairs that I did it myself on this cabinet, which I'll point out later in the video as well. But I did some calling and I got a hold of Sega's arcade division, which is still functioning in the Chicago area. And the tech that I spoke to was actually kind of laughing about it. He thought it was kind of a coincidence that the GameWorks in Las Vegas had just recently sent in their cabinet for a repair, and he had the original owner's manual in his hand. So he was nice enough to scan it in and actually send it to me, which was really cool. So we'll take a look at this particular cabinet that I have in my possession. I managed to actually find it on Craigslist of all places, so just further proof that as long as you're looking, look in those odd places, you never know what you're going to come up with. This cabinet was actually made in the US, more than likely in the California region, or in the Chicago area. It does not say. I don't really have any tracking on that to figure out exactly where it was made. The technician couldn't even tell me either because it was before his joining of the Sega group too. But we'll take a look at this, and again, feel free to leave comments at the bottom.
So we'll start with the cabinet itself. It stands at 73 inches tall, 40 inches deep, 29.5 inches wide. It weighs in at 375 pounds approximately. A shot here of the original marquee. Go under here and hear all the characters' moves. Sonic, Tails, Espio, Fang, known as Knack the Weasel to most people, Bean, Knuckles, Amy, and Bark. This is a 25-inch screen, Zenith, medium resolution, CRT monitor. How to play the game. Brief view of the control panel. Standard 3 buttons for games like Virtua Fighter, Dead or Alive. The side decal, which is in great shape still. A little tear in the right hand corner of that decal. And here's the coin slots, mechs. This is not the original. I actually ended up replacing this. When I picked up the game, the right side, the guy had this missing, the button was all torn out, the flap here was missing, the key lock had actually been drilled out, and he lost the keys. So I ended up replacing this with the Hap parts from Suzo Hap. These are actually the metal mechanisms, which I actually like better than the original. You simply pop these two out, and this slides out. These are quarter-based mechs. These are not token-based. Here's actually the original plastic that I got with it. I didn't really care for these. These do work, but not to the degree that the metal ones do. The newer ones have a better security on them than these old ones did. The slots and chutes were all still plastic. This newer model actually has metal. Going deeper inside here, we have the coin counter, the test, control, service control, and volume. Hitting the service control sets you into the menu where you can choose various options, such as how much it costs for a token. That can range anywhere from 25 cents up to $1.50, or 6 coins for 1 credit. You can also enter the sound test, change the difficulty level on very easy, medium hard, very hard. I do not suggest putting it on very hard, as there is a difficulty level increase, especially when you reach Metal Sonic. Those who have played the games are sure to know what I'm talking about. You can set it to replay, turn off the barriers. They are set to default. You can also put on hyper mode, which is also on default for this game. That can be turned on and off. The hyper mode, all it does is it gives you the shiny, looks like the shields from the original Sonic games. Allows you to move a little faster for a short period of time, but it does subtract 1 shield from you when you use it. Below it is just the coin catcher, which I just have stored paperwork for the coin slot and a couple coins when I tested the machine to make sure it actually recognizes coin sliding through it. Flipping back the control panel here, you can see the original buttons and joysticks. I have not swapped these out yet. I don't really plan to until the buttons actually break. These are Suzo Hap buttons. These are not Sanwa or anything. Over here we have the monitor adjustments. You can tweak those if the monitor is out of range or if something just looks off, nothing's centered. I've actually replaced the cam bolts on here because they were rusting out and they were leaving rust trails on the vinyl. I'm also missing the washers on these, which I kind of like, so I may end up replacing these joysticks at some point. It looks kind of tacky without them. You can see the insides. I just don't care for the look. Player 1, Player 2. On each side here you have your barrier, shields, punch, and kick. That's a standard for Virtua Fighter games, Fighting Vipers, mostly other games that fit this arcade cabinet that can be swapped out for. This is the guts of the Sega Model 2B CRX. To the right is the main motherboard, which houses the main motherboard, of course, the Sonic Championship ROM, and the game board. The game board can be swapped out with games such as Dead or Alive, Virtual On, Fighting Vipers, a couple other really good games. There were 3-button players. This is not a JAMA system. Sega had their own proprietary wiring and controls and everything. It's the back side of the coin mech in the box. To the left here we have the amplifier for sound. There are 2 speakers on the upper right hand, upper above the monitor. I'm sure you kind of saw those briefly. And the power supply. Kind of amazing for 400 pounds that this is all that's inside of it. Plenty of room, can add in a couple shelves, maybe a small child. So that's your brief, in-depth look at the Sonic Championship Arcade. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, I thank you again for watching. I will see you next time.